Good evening, everybody. Everybody who's tuned into Lee Judges TV. And listen, I hope you're going to enjoy this chatting with Campbell, number 2. I just want to introduce the main man, Lee Judges. How are you, Lee?
I'm good, thank you very much, Kevin. I'm a little bit better after the last few days. Couple of new signings and a little bit more positivity. So I'm definitely better than what I was at the weekend. Let's put it that way, So full of optimism now going into the the weekend,
Well, I did see your interview after the game, and you hit on some incredible points, obviously, which a lot of Arsenal fans share. But Lee, we've moved on, and we're playing our London rivals from West London. So can Arsenal beat Chelsea at home? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, you've always got to believe they can. You know what I mean? Because that's football. I honestly going to say this now. Going into Boxing Day, I was chewing on my turkey on Christmas Day, thinking we're never going to beat Chelsea. And then we went there and turned up and give them a good hiding. And that was against all sort of odds. I think it's going to be even tougher this time around. I'll be honest. But when you're at home and you're at the Emirates, you have to think that you can win games of football, Kev, because we're the Arsenal, and simple as that, as far as I'm concerned. But do I think that we'll win it? I don't think we will. I think Chelsea will probably have a little bit too much for us. I think when you look at it, they are the champions of Europe. They're champions of Europe for a reason. They're a decent side, and I still think that we're a long way short of being where we want to be in terms of personnel. And I'm going to be really honest with you, Kev. Mikel Arteta has got a lot of making up to do before he gets back in my good books, if I'll be honest.
Yeah, well, let's look at that, Lee, because I look at, can Arsenal beat Chelsea at home? I think yes, of course they can. We have to be a bit fortuitous, like we were at Stamford Bridge last season. We obviously beat them. We well beat them at the Emirates. But the one where Tuchel was in charge, it was fortuitous. We got the break, and they couldn't score. They missed a hatful of chances, and we ended up winning the game, which we loved. For me, Lee, there are still holes in this team.
Yeah,
that is going to cause us major problems. You see, they've strengthened. Obviously, brought in Lukaku up top, who, if they think Ivan Toney's going to be trouble, Lukaku's got virtually everything. So my shout to you is this, Lee. Who do you reckon will be our main threats? Because where them threats are going to come from, Chelsea.
Yeah.
But do you think, I think Aubameyang's out of COVID protocol now, I believe.
Yeah.
I believe, obviously, Balogun is fit. He might play. People talk about Pepe might play there because we've had 3 different players. We had Balogun, Martinelli, and Pepe play there at Brentford.
Yeah.
So what do you think our attack should look like?
Do you know what? I haven't got a clue, Kevin. I really haven't got a clue. Yeah. That's a bad thing to say, because I think if you look at Martinelli, let's look at him in the context. He would be my first shout. But he's just come back from the Olympics. Does he need a rest, or is he sharp enough? At some stage, he's probably going to need a little bit of a rest. But I would probably go with him up top, if I'll be honest, instead of Balogun. I think that Saka's got to come into the equation. And Pepe, I think, would be the 3. I think that's the way that I go. That's a little bit harsh on Balogun, but we spoke about this on the last show, Kev. You know what I mean? Yeah. He was adamant about it, that Balogun's going to be a very, very good player, but he needs a loan, and he does need a toughening up period. So I think Saka, Martinelli, Pepe would be my 3, if I'll be honest. But ultimately, you just don't know. I've got to say, let's just talk about this COVID thing. Why the hell wasn't that spoken about? Why have they kept it quiet till now? I don't understand that, So it's a bit of a worry,
Hi, Dan. Been joined by Dapper Dan. How are you, Dan? You okay?
Guys.
Yeah, I'm good, man. KC, how you doing, bro?
I'm very well, thanks, Dan. Very well. Look, you've jumped in, so I'm going to just put it on you.
Go for it.
Can Arsenal beat Chelsea at home?
Well, something tells me that we can because of the omen that has been Arsenal and Chelsea at the Emirates. My problem with it is the way we're playing, Casey, is worrying me. And I do put a lot of it down to the manager at the moment because I think against Brentford, although there was some problems in terms of the team selection, I don't think it really matters at the moment who's playing. We're not quite performing. We're not getting the best in the final third. We're not seeing the creativity and we're not creating the amount of chances that I'd be happy to watch. It's not exciting to watch at the moment. So I think the only good thing, I suppose, is that the pressure is kind of off for some of the fans because I actually think a lot of fans are going into this game not expecting to take 3 points. And I think that if we were to go and get 3 points, people would probably be, or more fans would probably be more shocked and surprised than expected because I do feel like Chelsea are going into this one as favourites. I think in terms of their season, they're certainly going to be closer to Manchester City for a title race, in my opinion, under Thomas Tuchel and with the signing of Lukaku. And it all depends at the moment, doesn't it, about who's actually going to be playing. I know you and Lee were touching on it at the moment, who's going to be up top. We still don't really know what's happening. But I kind of want to touch on what Lee was saying, really, Casey, about this COVID situation and get some of your guys' thoughts on it, because something smells a bit wrong to me, mate, with this. I'm a bit surprised of it. So it'll be interesting to see what Arteta says about the COVID situation, whether it was kind of trying to protect them or trying to be truthful or what. I don't know what our thoughts are on it, guys, if I'm honest. I find it a bit weird, if I'm honest. Why not just come out and say, we've got 4 individuals that have obviously got COVID. They're not going to be about. Why come out a week later and say it almost?
Dan, listen, let me just say this. I've said it before and I'm going to say it again. I think something's awry at the football club. Something is not right. Usually if somebody has COVID, the club, the league make a statement about the amount of players that have it at the football club. And then the club come out and name the players who have actually got it. Arsenal didn't go through that protocol. All of a sudden, there's COVID. So I'm not buying it. I'll be honest with you. I'm not buying it. So again, I don't know what's gone on internally. I'll be wrong to say I know what's going on internally because I don't. But I don't buy the COVID story. I'm not buying it at all. They went on social media silence as well. That's the other thing, Dan. That's telling as far as I'm concerned. So I'm not having it, guys. I'm not having it. I think there might be something else going on the inside. What's your thoughts on that, Lee?
Yeah, I'm with you on that, Kev, because I think I might be wrong here, but was it Harrogate that had a couple of games called off because of it? And they've come out and said, like, no, we've got an outbreak of it. And and I can't understand why they've not just come out and said no one's going to blame them or whatever, So when you turn around and say, right, okay, we're protecting them and all that, I get that. So why are they not protecting them now then? Why have they come out a week later and said what you get against Chelsea? What's the difference now to last time? Something doesn't seem right with me, and I don't like it. Do you know what? I'm going to say it now. I said to Dan, I'm going to say it earlier on. I don't believe a word Mikel Arteta says at this moment in time. I don't believe it. He told me that Willett was going to be part of his plans. So unless Arteta's going to go off and manage Newcastle, he's lying again anyway. You know what I mean? So
hey Lee, things do change. Things do change, and you know what? And you know what? Probably Joe Willock wanted to leave in the end. But look, here's a super chat. So big up Lee and KC, and I'm sure he's going to say Dapper Dan. Kevin, I understand your stance on Arteta from watching you on Curtis Shaw TV. Kevin, why is there not a playing style Arteta has implemented in nearly 2 years, yet Nuno in 6 weeks has?
Great question.
For me, I think we do see snapshots of the playing style. I just think we're just too inconsistent as a team. I honestly do. And the playing style of Spurs is counter-attack. They played the same thing last season. They played counter-attack. With the players they've got, they will play counter-attack. And you know what? If Man City had their shooting boots on, I don't think anybody would be talking about Spurs' playing style, because Man City would have beat them out of sight. But because they go and win the game, and it was a breakaway goal, which was a good goal, all of a sudden, Nuno's the best thing since sliced bread.
Yeah,
I honestly say this from a point of where I've been in the game. It takes time sometimes to implement, and we're starting to see a turnover of players that are coming into the football club, and it's nowhere near as quick as we wanted it, because we would have preferred a lot more players at the start of pre-season. But they're kind of rushing now. They're rushing to change to fill some of those gaps in the squad. Yeah, we do need more. But I just think unless you've got that team that you can trust and to go and compete on all fronts, not usually against the big teams, we don't have a problem competing. We have a go at that. But that game against Brentford was poor, wasn't it? It was poor. We downed tools in the end because we couldn't match them physically. And that's the problem I see with this Arsenal team.
Do you know what? I was just quickly coming in there, Casey, because I think you made a great point there just at the end. I don't mind losing football games, right? Listen, I don't like it. None of us do. I don't mind losing football games. The way we lost against Brentford reminded me of the Arsenal of 10 years ago against Stoke. We got bullied, Casey. Yeah? And that's what frustrated me the most, I think. It's not so much that we were poor creativity-wise, because we've seen this, yeah? Nothing's really changed as far as I'm concerned. And you know I'm not a huge fan of what we're trying to do here. But the way we got bullied, it was like we went backwards even more. It's like, you know what? I'm seeing Ben White, who's our new signing, who cannot win stuff in the air. Pablo Mari all over the place. Leno back to his usual tricks. Granit Xhaka losing the ball in the middle. And I'm thinking we are going backwards here. So my kind of question, I think, back to that is, because I think it's a great question from Jamal, by the way. I've not seen a playing style. You say you've seen glimpses, but I'm not so sure what the glimpses are. Like, what would you think we are trying to do style-wise? Because I can't see it.
Well, I've seen the team looking to press from the front. I've seen the team looking to play through the lines. I've seen the team, whether it's 4 at the back or 3 at the back, I've seen the team play fluid football. For instance, against Wolves away, that first half, we've seen it at Burnley away, that first half. We should have been 3 or 4 goals up. If you're 3 or 4 goals up in the first half, it changes everything. But the problem is, and I'll get back to this, our problem at Arsenal is consistency. We can do it 1 game, maybe 2 games, but we can't do it on a stretch convincingly. That's our problem. And why? Is it because the manager sets them up differently, or is it because the players just aren't consistent enough? I say the players aren't consistent enough. Some people would say, Kev, you don't know what you're talking about. It's the manager. But one thing we've seen inconsistency with Wenger. We've seen inconsistency with Emery. We've seen an inconsistency under a short Freddie, and we've seen inconsistency under Arteta. So it's virtually the same players, but different managers.
I will say something about the bullying side of the game. Physically, we was outplaying them physically, but ultimately we was missing Partey. We was missing Gabriel for that game. I don't think they would have bullied us as much with those guys in there. I'll be honest, and I don't think we're going to see the best of Ben White. I was talking about this today until Gabriel comes along, because he's got the physicality to go around. He's also got the pace to cover things, and I think Ben White then will be the one to get on the ball and play a little bit. So I think that we ain't going to see the best of Ben White until Gabriel comes, and I think it will be a sort of partnership more than just individually, you know. So that's how I feel about that. Partey's a big loss in that midfield, because but in saying that, the positive was Lokonga in there. But ultimately, what worries me about that game is that it looks to me, I don't know how you guys feel about this, is that we just thought, right, well, we'll just play our style, and they've not really looked at Brentford's weaknesses or looked at how they could break down Brentford and whatever. Now, you, Kev, would know this more than anybody. Under Jules Graham, I'm pretty sure those sort of things were looked at and done. And I thought that Mikel Arteta would have done that with his coaching staff, with his nodding donkeys, but unfortunately he didn't.
Hey, whoa, Lee, whoa. Let me stop you right there. Do you honestly think Arsenal wouldn't have looked at Brentford's weaknesses? The key to it is it's all very well doing it on the training pitch, Lee. You have to execute it on the pitch. And we didn't have the players who could execute it on the pitch. At the end of that game, I think we could have been playing until this week. We wouldn't have scored. We were that poor at the top end of the pitch.
We was look, listen, you can look into to too many excuses and whatever. Myself, personally, watching the game, you always tell me this, Kev, you know, with the eye, watch with the eye and all that. And I watch with the eye and I see a team completely and utterly not ready for a game of football, not ready for the season to start. That's inexcusable at this level. I don't care what anybody says. It's inexcusable. You know, you can turn around and, like, you know, people will turn around and say, we lost to Aubameyang and Lacazette. They were poor. They've been poor for ages as well. Like, so I don't think that it didn't matter who. I was quite pleased. I was quite pleased to see Martinelli and Balogun come in there, because it told me that it wasn't the players. It told me it was a system that we're playing isn't correct for the players we've got. Now, he's had all summer to sort that out and go with the way he's going. Now, if you're going to play Aubameyang, you're going to play Lacazette, or if they're staying at this football club, they're your big players, or Martinelli and whatever. You have got to find a style and a play that suits your big players. And I don't think we have, Kev. And that is down to the manager. And the coaching staff is nodding donkeys. That is what it's down to, like, you know. Do you see them on Saturday, on Friday night? We stand say, yes. Absolutely horrendous, like, you know what I mean, if I'll be honest. You know what I mean? Like, I'm getting to the stage now, Kev, where I am going to say, he's been in the job 18 months. He should have the experience to know and certainly do things now, like, you know. That is my thing. I'm starting to lose. Well, I have. I'm going to say it now. I've lost the faith. I've lost trust in him. I have. I've lost trust in Arteta.
Listen,
that
is understandable.
I don't know how I'm going to get that back. And I'll be honest, the win against Chelsea isn't going to suffice, because we got that win against Chelsea last year and there were still flaws going through. People have turned around and said, oh, we had a great end of the season, a great second half of the season when we beat Chelsea and when Odegaard come in, etc., etc. We still lost in the FA Cup. We still didn't win the Champions League. Look at me getting well about myself. The Europa League.
Yeah.
You know, we still finished 8th. There wasn't really a consistency of going into games. You know what I mean? I remember we beat Man United, and I always said this: we beat Man United. We didn't win for 2 months after that. We beat Tottenham, and then we go win. You know, there's no consistency. And then, lo and behold, we win our last 5 games when it doesn't really matter. But everyone goes, "Oh, we've won 5 games." And then when we come to Brentford, which is the game we've got to win, lo and behold, we've lost again.
Here's one thing I will say, and I'll ask Dan this. Dan, for all the poor performances against Brentford, do you expect Arsenal to turn up against Chelsea? Regardless of who plays.
Yeah, of course I expect him to, because it's a huge game, Casey. And this is a huge game, not just for the players and the fans, but for the manager as well. The manager's under pressure, huge pressure. And we've already seen the Emirates get very, very toxic under both Arsene Wenger and Unai Emery. Let me tell you, if we get a thumping, and I'm talking 3 or 4-0 here, which could happen, yeah, it happens in football, I think this stadium is going to be a very, very nasty place to be in, because I think the fans have had enough of it now. I think they've not seen enough progress, in my opinion, throughout this pre-season, the transfer window, and certainly on Friday night against Brentford, to fill us with confidence going into this game. So I think that although I believe we can take 3 points because we did it last season with a similar team, I had no faith because of the way that we're playing at the moment. And I suppose the only kind of positive is our youngsters again, isn't it? You know, we're looking at Martinelli, Saka and Smith Rowe as being the ones that we're looking towards now, because the others just aren't cutting it. So for me, although Lacazette and Aubameyang were out the other night, I didn't really care, KC, because I saw it as, do you know what? They're not really performing anyway. Let's give the other 2 guys a chance. Unfortunately, because of the way I believe the manager is setting us up negatively, we're not having the space, the freedom, the flair, and the creativity to create chances. And even when we do get that 1 or 2 chances, those in front of the goals are fluffing their lines. So it's just all going wrong at the moment. And I can't see the cohesion and the telepathy between the players at the moment, players as a team.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at how we play pre-season, and everybody got games, obviously, Martinelli knows how to play. I just think when you go into that first game of the season, you want your experienced players. And the fact that the experienced players weren't there really hamstrung us. Because no disrespect to Balogun, I've had this conversation with Lee before. I think he's learning his trade. He's never played a Premier League game before Friday. So, you know, when the opposition get the team sheet and there's no Lacazette and there's no Aubameyang, you can imagine they're rubbing their hands together thinking, we got a novice here. And Balogun found it difficult at times. And it's no disrespect to Balogun, because I think as a team, we're just not strong enough to be able to help him enough. Martinelli's just come back for the Olympics. I think we're expecting too much. You got Smith Rowe, who's young. You got Balogun, who's young. You got Martinelli, who's young. And Pepe's the kind of the elder statesman of the attack, who blows hot and cold at times. So I think it's a lot to ask at times. I particularly think Xhaka and Lokonga done okay in midfield. I thought they done all right. But again, it's meeting that physical challenge. Put talent and technique aside and all this systems. System to me is the excuse. Lee, you've played. Dan, you've played. You've got to battle one-on-one and you've got to win your battles. That's the number one thing you've got to do. And we ain't great at that. So what's your thoughts on that, Lee, about the winning your battles?
Well, you've got to win your battles, and that is part of football. And listen, you have those battles in training when you play against your own teammate. You don't want to see, like if me and you were up against each other, as you quite always say, you would probably beat me, but I'm going to give it a bloody good go. You know what I mean? I'm going to kick you as hard as you kick me, even in training. You know what I mean? I'm not going to allow you to score 3 goals and things like that, because my personal pride wouldn't allow me to do that. You know what I mean? And if you did, ultimately, I'd walk off and go, well, do you know what? He's better than me, and I've got to accept that. You know what I mean? But ultimately, I would try and do it as hard as I possibly could. And I just feel there's an acceptance to buckle and not do that. And I look at that with Leno, you know what I mean, in the goal for the second goal. I know he was being fouled, but there's no get out of my way and all that. And I'll go back to the point a week ago with Mikel Arteta when Højbjerg was having a go at him. You know what I mean, like fronted up to him. There was only one Arsenal player that was in his face. You know, but in your day, Kevin, I know when I played, if they'd done that to my manager, there'd be a scuffle of all.
There'd be war murders.
That comes down to mentality again, though. Yeah, that comes down to mentality again. Guys, I think we've got some super chats that I think we've got to do. Kev, I'll let you over to you, mate.
Hi, Kevin, Dan and Lee. It's nice to meet you. Loved your appearance on the Gooners podcast, 24-hour podathon. You seem like 2 nice guys plus judges. Yeah, we're the nice guys. That judges is the rugged. He's the rugged. that one there is the rugged. That's not. It was that Gunnarola. That's a nice one. Thank you, Gunnarola. We appreciate that. We appreciate that. But guys, again, is it the manager who has to try and get the players up to battle, or is it the boys when they cross the white line?
Players. I do think that. I do think that you've got to have the players to do it. And Kev, if you don't do that, right, then it's down to the manager not to play him again. That's my thing a bit. You suss out people, don't you? You know what I mean? You know what you're going to be. Even as a player, Kev, come on, you know it when you see players, opposition or not, if they fancy or not. You know if you're going to, if you give him a clump, it's in the dressing room, blah, blah, blah. Give someone a clump. Give him a clump.
Early doors.
Know. Come on, you know that. So there is that bit. So there's that thing of that. Get at the Arsenal. Give him a little dig. see if they won't fancy it. So that's definitely. So I do blame the players for that, like, you know.
Yeah. Dan,
Yeah,
what's your thoughts on that?
Listen, listen, you've got to put some blame towards the players, of course, with poor performances. But I do put most of this on the manager because I see different team now and different players that are still playing the same way that Willian was when he came on, that Lacazette was when he was a number 9, that El Neni was to Chaka's. I can't see an improvement in many of these players, and that's what worries me the most. So that's why I'm putting it down to the manager. And listen, I have no doubt the manager's doing his bestest. I have no doubt about that. I just don't think he's good enough, Casey. And I think that he's learning, and I don't think we've got time, and the fans certainly haven't got the patience anymore after waiting 17 years to win a league title to be given a project for 5 years to another manager. But I have got to bring this up because Dave's in the background. We've got about 4 super chats to run through quickly. So
let's do it.
Let's go through these. There's about 4 in a row that Dave's just going to keep putting up. So over to you, Casey.
Yeah, let's get the super chat up, Dave, and let's see what the Gooner Nation. Let's see what the Gooner Nation is saying. Okay, this is from Jamal Abdul. KC, I get where you're coming from and see it from that aspect. However, in nearly 2 years, there shouldn't be any inconsistency or games here or there where Arteta's style of play is effective. Kev, can you at least acknowledge that? I've said that. I've said inconsistency is our problem. But inconsistency was our problem under Arsene Wenger at the end. It was our problem under Emery, Freddie, and now it's Arteta's issue. The only way you stop inconsistency or those players in the squad who, let's be honest, it isn't always the same players who play. He does change it at times, and we still get the same type of performances. So unless we have our strongest team out there, that's the only way the performances and the level goes up, because everyone knew what to expect against Brentford. You knew that they were going to get in our faces. They got in our faces, and we didn't have the heart to fight them right to the end. If we'd lost the game and we fought until the end, I know a lot of Arsenal fans would have said, listen, we had a goal. But we didn't even have a goal. They bullied us, and that's unacceptable in my eyes. So 100% I get what you're saying. Laka has been a phenomenal link for ESR and Saka last season and was great in pre-season. He was a definite loss. Laka and Oba tested positive just before the game. Again, we've spoke about that, lads, haven't we? We think some things are right. Now, testing just before the game, I don't think so. I don't think players will get tested just before the game. They'll get tested in the week of the game. And it would have been announced way before the Friday, as far as I'm concerned. Don't you think so, guys?
Yeah, I agree. I don't, like there must be protocols and everything like that. You don't just do it before the game because if someone then gets positive, then you ain't got time to replace it and whatever and put things out into whatever they do, protocols and all things like that. So I don't, and at the end of it, if I still can't see the problem. If they had been COVID, come out and say it. I just don't understand why. I don't get that. I don't get it.
But Lee, here's the funny thing: if they were tested just before the game, then there's an opportunity for the game to be cancelled.
Yeah, exactly.
because they've got COVID.
Yeah.
And you'll have to test everybody. And listen, I don't know what was going on. Rumor has it that they don't have it, and then they do have it. I don't even want to go too much into it as much, but that was the question. There's one from Turkish, guys. Kroenke will always be the main problem, but Arteta / Edu have made themselves the main targets. 130 million spent and no real improvement overall falls on them. Yeah, Turkish, good point. I particularly think when you look at Gabriel at the back, you look at Partey in midfield, I think them two guys have proved that they're difference makers in our team. And they're in a position where is key for Arsenal because we've had times where there've been no centre-half or central midfielder and we've really struggled. Struggled under Wenger and we struggled under Unai Emery. at times. What's your thoughts on that one, guys?
Yeah, listen,
said.
I'm with Turkish all the way, man. Big up Turkish as well, man. Top bloke. I must say this. I think that the 130 million that's been spent, I believe, has strengthened the squad, not the first 11. And I think that although you do need backup players, Kev, we needed a backup goalkeeper, we needed a backup left back. I felt that we needed somebody in the middle there in Lokonga. But I look at the 100 million spent, and I think we've got the same creative midfielder from last season in Erdegaard. We've replaced Ryan with Ramsdale, Kolasinac with Tavares, Guendouzi with Lokonga, Luiz with Ben White. So far, I don't look at that and get excited. Now, there is still, 12 days left? But I do feel that there's a lot that needs to happen in that 12 days. And I want you to come back to me once this super chat's on, because this is a great point for me. And this is something I'm really passionate about. So come back to me after Lee on this one, because I think this is a great question.
This is from Mosley F. And thanks for your super chat. We don't scout on players' mentality and personality. Talent ain't always the answer. We fold too easy when the going gets tough. What a great super chat. And I'm going to hit Lee with that one.
Yeah. Do you know what it is? Do you remember there was Arsenal done a lot of delving into things and characters and all that? Even in your day, Kev, they used to do that, check them all out and see what they was doing and how they was going to be off the field and things like that. Because I do think that is part of football as well. I know it's not as big as what it was like back in our day, but those bonds and things like that, social things and all that need to be done, particularly when you're away from home, you're going on away games. You need to have a good team atmosphere and things like that. So, and I don't think I think that's overlooked a little bit, and I think it's a great question. But ultimately, Kev, you know this as well as anybody else. You don't really know a player until he goes out on the pitch. Now, ultimately, Manchester City have made mistakes with signings, big signings. Chelsea certainly have made signings. When I remember when they signed Torres from Liverpool, everything looked like they got the thing. Didn't happen, didn't work out. So you can't always be guaranteed of it. There is always a gambling element to signings.
Yeah.
And going back onto the signs, I think that we've made good signings, but nothing's excited me yet to say that we're going to go on and win. That's the difference. I think that we can all say they're good signings, and I think if anybody didn't say that, then they're just really looking to attack. But ultimately, nothing there has said to me it's really exciting. And I'll go back to Arsenal through the real difficult times of Arsenal. 83. We was really down in the doldrums. Charlie Nicholas was signed. 94, 95 was a difficult time. Bergkamp was signed after that night, So we and one of the greatest things that somebody said to me the other day, even when we signed Sanchez, which is a really good one, and Ozil, we didn't pluck them from Barcelona and Real Madrid when they was on the periphery of the squad. And it's the same with Odegaard. We've not took it. He's surplus requirements. What I want Arsenal to do is go into a club and go, right, he's your main man. We're having him. Be a little bit more ruthless in the transfer market. That's what I want.
But Lee, do you know what? On,
that's talk. That's talk. And we are not in a position to do that.
I know. But we
would love it. Ben would love it. I would love it. You would love it. But
we've done it with Brighton. We've done it with Brighton. We've
done it with Brighton, and maybe that's really the only one who you could say was their player of the year, their best player. We get him. And I think a lot of the fan base mentality is we need the name, we need the name, we need the name. In fact, what we do need is, like what Mosley actually rightly said, we need the right mentality and the right attitude to come into this squad. Because 100%. You know what? A team with the right attitude and a team with the right mentality treats Brentford differently. And we attack them. We deal with them on the pitch. We've all been involved in battles. They're going to battle us. So we make sure you're up for a battle. All right, then, Brentford. We'll battle you and then we'll beat you. I think that's what you have to do. And we're just not good at that.
Do you know why I think that is? Just before we move to this super chat, do you know why I think that is? Stat DNA has come in, right? Stat DNA is fine if you look at things attributes wise, technically gifted, Mesut Ozils of this world, but it doesn't have the Jordan Henderson, James Milner mentality. So that's why we have got a load of weak players that have come through this club. It doesn't tell you how good they are up there. It just tells you how good they are with their feet. And I think that's an important point before we move on, Casey.
Yeah, that's the intangibles, Dan. That's the things that the stats don't measure.
Exactly that.
Do you know what I mean? The stats do not measure that. Okay, Jamal Abdul again. Kevin, Emery had a clear playing style and was noticeable when he joined. Why has Arteta not coached them to become more consistent with the playing style? Arteta spent 4 years under Pep, no clearer what style or methods he wants to use. Again, I'll go back, Jamal.
Big up, Jamal.
The issue we have is you
need
the right players. Pep Guardiola could do that style at Manchester City. They spent 500 to £1 billion with top players who could do it. Unfortunately, Arteta doesn't have that luxury. He's got to put round pegs in square holes. It's going to take him time. There's players in the squad who's not wanted. There's players in the squad that he has to work with, and there's players that he has to try and bring in. And whether we like it or not, it is a work in progress. Whether he gets the time or not, I totally get it. But let's be honest, guys. Under Unai Emery at the end, it was an absolute mess.
Oh, 100%.
It was an absolute mess. And people forget that, Lee.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Dan, what do you think? Under Emery at the end?
I think it was toxic at the end, and I can see. Listen, the fans got it. The fans said, "Look, we need to see change." It was abysmal, but I do agree with Jamal. I saw a style under Emery. I saw this high intensity. I saw this off the ball pressure. What I didn't see was stability at the back, and that's I think what people are saying they're enjoying to see now with Arteta. However, I've not seen it of the last. In some games. I certainly didn't see stability at the back against Brentford. So he needs to show me that he has got that back now. And I think Lee's right earlier when he said about Gabriel. I think he's our best centre-half. I do. And I think that when Partey comes in, he'll stabilise that as well. I just want to see a playing style, Kev. I want to see something where I can think, do you know what? We lost against Chelsea or Man City or whoever it be. But you know what? I saw us having a go. We created some unbelievable chances. We're playing some beautiful football, triangle passes. I'm not seeing that at the moment. I'm seeing some weak players, weak mentality, players getting bullied, and players looking lost out there. And a manager who all he seems to do is that. Whenever I see him, I don't know what he's clapping. I don't know if he's trying to bring confidence to the side or what he's doing.
Trying to encourage him, isn't he? He's trying to encourage him, but here's the thing, Dan. This is. Let me get this super chat by Budgie Man. Chemistry has something to do with the consistency, and it's worse since Arteta. This worries me because when we've had success, we had great team chemistry.
Great point.
100%.
100%.
100%, Budgie Man. Great. But don't forget, Budgie Man, here's the difference. Arteta had a little slice of success. He has had a little slice of success in the FA Cup. And I know it's a cup competition, but you still have to win it. So, did the players respond to Arteta in the FA Cup? Yes, they did. We were all proud to win the FA Cup again. Our problem again is our consistency because it's the same players. We know these players are not consistent over a league season. And yet, we're there relying on youngsters yet again. That's not the Arsenal way. That we shouldn't be relying on the youngsters, although the youngsters are very talented. We need experienced players to play their part so the youngsters can flourish. That's what we need. But we haven't got that.
Do you think, I'm not making excuses here for Arteta about the chemistry of the team, when you know there's players in the team he wants to get rid of, like, going back a few years ago, when teams used to have the bomb squads, didn't you? That would train away. It's always happened. There's always been players that have not been involved, like you go and play with the youth team or the reserve team. It doesn't send you have to have that whole thing when everybody's in together in it. Do you know what I'm saying? And I think,
Involved. Everyone's involved.
Yeah, and we haven't got that. There's players in the team that know that probably, or in the squad, know that they're not wanted. So it can cause a little bit of conflict, or am I not looking? I'm not looking.
No, Lee, I think, do you know one of Arsenal's biggest problems, guys? Is the players that are not wanted. We can't shed them. We can't get rid of them. Because once you start clearing people out, then there's room for people to come in. I mean, I'm hearing today, Lucas Torreira's turned around and said, "Oh, I want to play for Arsenal." We've never heard that come out. And now all of a sudden, it's come out he wants to play for Arsenal now. It's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. Because if he wanted to play, he'd be here. As far as I'm concerned.
Shows you how bad the previous regime is as well. But we can't get rid of these players because Wenger and Gazidis has stuck Kolasinac on 125, Lacazette on 182k a week, Granit Xhaka's over 100k a week, so's Bellerin. We're stuck with these players, yeah? And it's not just that, by the way, because we've got Willian now stuck on 220k a week. We can't shift him out the door. It's just we're not learning sometimes from these mistakes that Wenger and Gazidis has made. So, I think that's a great point, Kev. We're struggling to get rid of. We had to pay players last season to leave. We're going to have to do that again with Kolasinac and potentially Willian at this rate. So I'm worried about that. I think it's just it's a complete and utter mess. Sorry, I know we've got a super chat.
No, listen, Dan. We are in a mess, recruitment-wise and squad-wise. But Alex McCarthy, he says Edu and Arteta are buying captains and leaders. Partey, potential captain. Lokonga, captain. Odegaard, captain. Tierney, potential captain. Ramsdale, captain. All leaders. Do you think there's been a change? I mean, Gabriel, I think he's a real quality, strong centre-half. Do you think we're kind of overlooking what Mikel Arteta and Edu are trying to do by bringing these players in because of what's happening in the here and now? That we haven't got those strong-minded, tough players until we turn them over. But we're not turning them over quick enough for the Arsenal fan base. What do you think about that?
I like what we're trying to do. We're buying, I like the project that we're trying to do. I'm going to buy into that. We're buying young British players, Ben White, 23, Kieran Tierney, we've got the Sackers, we've got the Smith Rose. We're bringing in a young goalkeeper now, Lokonga, 21 years of age. I like the DNA of that setup. Odegaard, 22 years of age. The ceiling of him is going to be,
captain of his country. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's massive.
Country, 22. And I'll be honest, every big club was looking at him when he was 17, 18. So to go to Real Madrid, it's not quite worked out because he probably went there too early. But ultimately, I like that style of things. But as me and my mate Dan were saying today, Arsenal will probably be a really, really good side in 3 or 4 years' time. You know what I mean? But 3 or 4 years in time, things change around. So it's not, it doesn't really work. You need to bring in a couple of players now. And if they were to bring in a couple of players, and I'll tell you what, Arsenal, in my opinion, we're a box-to-box midfield player away from being a decent midfield. And we're a big, strong central defender. And I'm talking someone like Everton's Calvin Lewin, someone like that would change the dynamics of the team. I'm not saying him, but just someone of that ilk. Because I looked at the game against Brentford, the way we was trying to attack was the two wide players come inside, the fullbacks go wide and cross. It's no good if you ain't got a centre forward that's not going to win balls in the air, Kev, or crosses. You know what I mean? What is the point of doing that tactic? So the system is failing because we haven't got the right personnel in the right areas. So if that can happen, I think that we would be a lot better. But that is my problem going back to Arteta when I see that and go, well, do you know what? We haven't got that big, strong centre forward. So why are you playing that tactic? Why don't you look at another system which is going to make it better for our better players? So.
But is our better players in the centre of the pitch, Lee? But this is the problem. Where are our better players against Brentford? Our better players are in wide areas. That's where our better players are. Yeah. And this is the problem because it's okay. If we change it and we want to play off the front, Brentford were crashing on Balogun very quickly because they knew we're going to get tight to this kid.
Yeah.
And they were physical with him. And I think he realized what it's like to play in the Premier League. Whereas he's played in Europa and looked good. And we've all heard the fans say, we should give Balogun a chance. Well, that's what you get. Somebody who doesn't really know their
game yet.
It doesn't really know how to navigate a Premier League game as a striker.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And he's a young, talented player. But he got no experience, Lee.
Yeah,
and for even Lacazette and Aubameyang not playing well or whatever, they still know their way around a football pitch, and Brentford will still respect them because they know if we take our eye off them, they could take the game away from us very quickly. So again, we were snookered at times trying to play a certain way. But then, Lee, when we do get linked with a big man who could really help us, the fan base turn around and say, well, we don't want Tammy Abraham or we don't want this. They poo-poo the idea of trying to get somebody big and physical at the centre forward position. So again, you can't win. We can't win. We don't have the money to go out and go and get the top strikers. So what do? We've got to try and make it work. And bringing in Odegaard, I think, is a good move. What's your thoughts on Odegaard? And he can be involved against Chelsea, can't he?
Well, they're saying something to do with a work permit now, or saying so he might not be. But look, listen, I'm a big fan of Odegaard. One of the things that worries me about Odegaard, what people turn around and say, he wasn't this, he wasn't that. He came in at a very, very difficult situation last year. We were
struggling.
All the protocols around what we was going through, and weren't allowed to go out. Realistically, basically, play football, go back to your hotel, play football, train, go back to your hotel. No socialising. Weren't allowed to go out, and he come in without playing no football. By the way, he hadn't really played for Real Madrid before. He done okay, and I think that it just started to go a little bit wrong for him. Do you remember when he got that injury playing for Norway? He wasn't quite the same when he come back. So I'm very, very pleased with him as a signing. I really am. So I'm hoping that he'll come back and we're getting even better player. I like him. People have turned around and said stats are, he only got one assist on one. That's because we didn't take our chances. You know what I mean? I'd like to see how many chances he did actually create, other than what he done.
create. Dan, would you? Awesome Hawar is still available. Is that a move that you would make?
100%, mate. 100%. Because I think Martin Odegaard, like Lee, is a good signing, but it's not one that excites me and takes it to the next level. Now, his ceiling's pretty high from what people have said in Real Madrid. And when he was a youngster, he was this wonder kid. But I only saw glimpses, if I'm honest, last season, Casey. I saw him have a fantastic game, I thought, at West Ham at the Olympic Stadium. Thought he was exceptional at home at the Emirates in the North London derby. And then he had a couple of good games towards the end of the season against Brighton and Palace as we come to a close. But he wasn't very consistent. Now, he created 32 chances for Arsenal, which was the most in an Arsenal shirt, ahead of Smith Rowe and even Saka. So, of course, it's going to be a signing that does take us forward and allows us to create. But with Houssem Aouar, he's very different to Martin Odegaard because he plays as kind of an attacking 8. Can go wide if he needs to, but he's more of an attacking 8. For me, he's like a Cesc Fabregas, if I'm honest. He's the only player I've seen that reminds me of Cesc in that time. Now, I don't think he's going to be as good as Cesc Fabregas, don't get me wrong, but his ceiling is certainly as high as his. Now, I saw his performance against Man City for Lyon, and I was just gobsmacked. It was that good. It was that good, right? And I thought, wow, who's this kid? First time I'd actually seen or heard of him. Started watching him. He takes 3 or 4 shots per game. Now, we don't take shots. Our midfielders don't take shots. They're too busy trying to tick attacker into the box. I want to see someone drive at that defense, and I want to see someone take shots. And if he is 25 million and we've hunted him down all summer last year, why are we not going in for a bid? So I'll be surprised if we do not at least go for Houssem Aouar with a bid, whether it's 20, 25 million. That for me is a steal. He's good age. My only concern from what I'm hearing is upstairs. I'm not too sure what we're seeing there. I'm not too sure if we've got another little bit of attitude on his hands, and this
Dan,
doesn't work well with Mikel Arteta.
Dan, do you know what we could do with somebody a bit lunatic coming in?
Yeah, you know it.
Because you know what, as a team, we're too nice.
Yeah.
I think Lee made a great point about, Højbjerg having a go at Arteta and only one Arsenal player fronting him up. That's madness. That's madness. So again, you learn about the team when they cross that white line because they go into war. I don't think we've got enough devilment in this side or aggression. I think they're nice players.
Don't they, Casey? Tottenham want him as well. I don't want him going there.
No, well, listen, again, we need him in.
This is the other thing, like, he might be a little bit or whatever. Like, if you're a good manager, you bring it on. Ken had a bit of a little problem and all that, but Alex Ferguson sorted that out. Ian Wright had a little issues. George Graham sorted that out. You know what I mean? Not 100%, but like there were issues, and he had to sort it out. I
don't like it though, Lee, does he? Because he's done it.
No, well, I look at that. I go back to with Ian Wright. What's his name? Bruce Rioch come along, and he couldn't do it. But all of a sudden, then Arsene Wenger come back in, and he managed to manage him. So I think that you've got to be able to, a part of being a good manager. Like I say this about, I slag off Pep a lot because I don't think I think he's a good coach, but I don't think he's as great a coach as what everybody says, because he's got the pattern, he's got the money and everything like that. But what he is very good at, he's a very, very good man manager that managed to get the best out of the players that he's got, and managed to manage them. So if someone comes with a problem, he knows how to do that. And I don't see that with Arteta. If there's a little bit of a problem, they're out and whatever. You've got to be able to manage difficult. But listen, there's always certain players in a football club that you're not going to get on with, who are a little bit, a little bit spicy or whatever. We've had that. Kevin would have had that. You'd have had that when you play. You don't like everybody, but what you have to do is manage them properly and make sure that they do the job that they're entitled to do. So I feel that's part of his remit. That's part of the job that he has to do.
Well, here's the answer to that, Lee. When the problem player is doing the business, the manager doesn't drop him. Just think about that. If there's a player in any of these teams who you've mentioned that is doing the business, the manager never drops him. Why? Because you're more lenient because he's doing the business.
Of course you are. I'll tell you who I'd have made. If you actually got Steven Gerrard in a room, right, on a private conversation, and said, what does he think of that Morelos, right? He would absolutely rip into him, between. I bet he can't stand the bloke because he's let him down and whatever. But he manages him for his own,
for the betterment of the club.
Yes, exactly right. But you know what I mean. But I guarantee you, if a striker come up with better or the same sort of ilk as him, he'd dump him straight away. But until that comes up, he will manage him to suit his needs, and that's what you have to do.
Yeah, but the problem is, Lee, he's doing the business.
Yeah, of course he's still doing the business. Yeah,
no, but he's doing the business. If the so-called problem isn't doing the business and is just causing problems,
then yeah. So, but he's managing that, isn't he? So he must be.
Being able to manage that is move him out, and that's what happened with Guendouzi. Guendouzi was causing a problem. He gave him a clean slate. Guendouzi didn't want to know. So what happens? He moved him out.
Yeah, I agree. If it's not going to happen, you've got to move. But listen, with that, I've watched Rangers on more than one occasion, and he's got sent off and let them down. And Steven Gerrard's face is unbelievable, but he keeps playing him. But that's good management, I think. And you know what, Gerrard, I think, is doing a great job learning his trade with Rangers, a big club. So
you know what,
he's doing
Lee,
a good job.
You know what, as well, Lee? You said earlier about Højbjerg and then Granit Xhaka was the only player to come up. I'll tell you who would have got up there, Matteo Guendouzi. But like Kevin said, for whatever reason, the manager just didn't think he could handle him, and I liked that passion. I liked what he did at Brighton personally. I didn't think there was much wrong with that. I remember when Keown jumped on Van Nistelrooy, which was much worse, and all the fans were all right with that. So
Love
I
it.
was more than happy.
Loved
Exactly.
it.
We loved it. Yeah. So I was more than happy with Guendouzi. Now, I don't understand what was going on behind the scenes because we don't get to see training. There was rumours that he was just being immature and dicking around. So, of course, that does disrupt training. But for the fight and the passion the guy proved, I tell you, I went to Burnley last year and he was coming off doing that with the old rugby ball to the Burnley fans, saying that's what you do, play rugby. It's brilliant. I love that sort of stuff. So, as far as I'm concerned, that's the sort of player I was. So if Husam Aouar is a little bit like that, I don't mind. What I don't want is for him to cause problems like we've seen disruptions previously. So that would be my only question mark. And we don't know that because we don't know enough about the player.
Yeah, if a player's got something a little bit loose, but he's doing the business, I don't know any manager that won't manage him right. The problem is when they don't do the business and then they're expected to put their arm around them. You just can't do that because you've got a whole squad to deal with. So, guys, Arsenal can beat Chelsea at home. What's the key area for you, Lee?
Oh, key area for me is going to be what system that he plays defensively. I think maybe we could go back to a back three in this game. But I think we've got to defend well. I look at and ride your luck a bit, but ultimately defend well and stop them scoring. If we can stop them scoring, who knows? You know what I mean? Like this, I know it's a silly thing to say, but that is what I think we're going to have to do. I think if we go at them, I think that we'll leave ourselves a little bit open at the back, and they've got players that can hit us on the counter. And I know it was only a friendly a couple of weeks ago, though, and I actually see that we had a lot of the play, but we overloaded, and they caught us on the break on 3 or 4 occasions. So I feel we've got to be very, very disciplined at the back and in midfield, and not go gun ho.
Dan, what's your thoughts on the key area or areas?
The key area, as far as I'm concerned, for Arsenal is going to be the final third, because that's where we need to look at our creativity. And I think that's the only positive at the moment, looking at this team, is our youth. I just need to see a system that allows that youth to show some flair and creativity and take their chances. I think Pepe, Saka, Smith-Rowe and Martinelli are probably going to be the front four. And that's if Laka, Oba, and of course Ødegaard aren't ready to start, which I don't think they will be. So I think those four, they need a good game, and they've all got something to prove. You know, Saka, he's got back. He's going to be hungry from what happened at the Euros. Smith-Rowe signed that contract, wants to prove himself. Pepe knows now with players coming in that his place might be up for grabs. And Martinelli has finally got his chance, which I felt was a little bit harsh last season and should have played more. So for me, it's all about that final third. I'm with Lee. We need to, of course, defend well. But I think over the last, let's say 18 months, defensively, we haven't been poor by leaking 6 or 7 goals. It's been individual errors that has let us down. So I don't want to see any individual errors, but that goes without saying of every game. For me, the key area is that final third. And I hope that we can see something positive, because that's what we need. This club needs a lift.
Yeah. Look, I think the key area myself is the centre of the pitch. If we can get a grip of that midfield, we stand a chance, because we can get behind their free centre halves. We could get round the outside centre halves and get to the byline and pull balls back and whiz balls across. And it's difficult for any team to defend that. The problem for us is if they get a grip of that midfield and start dictating, we're going to get deeper and deeper and deeper. And it's going to be very difficult for us to get out. And then they're just going to be probing. And it's going to be a long afternoon for us on Sunday. But you know what? I truly believe Oba's out of COVID protocol right now. If it was a COVID protocol, would he be involved, Dan? Should he play?
I don't think he will start. He should be involved, because let's be honest, he's supposed to be our star striker. My problem with him at the moment is I fear that we won't see the old Aubameyang back. I just got this feeling there's something not right there. And it will be interesting, Casey, won't it, to see how much of the truth comes out. Because if we don't see him play at all, and we've been told by Arteta that he is available, then we can see something is happening off the pitch here. And that will be the most interesting for me. How involved will Aubameyang be? that's the big question mark for me. But I think that if he is COVID okay, then I think we'll be all right to go for it and get him involved.
He's got to be in the squad, whatever happens. If he's
Lee, would you start him, Lee? Because don't forget, you can. He tested. If he's tested positive for COVID and now he's free of it, that don't mean he's had any symptoms. So that means he can.
I would
keep himself fit.
I'll stick him on the bench because whether you have to look at training and things like that. I don't know what sort of training he's done. I'm still going to go with Martinelli up front for this one, and he's Abba back in, So, but if he's 100% fit, then he has got a few goals against Chelsea. So I would be quite. I don't know. Really, it's a tough one, isn't it? Who'll be a manager, So I think it's a difficult one.
Yeah, I think he starts on the bench, and Martinelli starts up top. I think Balogun's on the bench as well.
I think Balogun.
Yeah, I think Balogun will be on the bench and Martinelli be up top. Saka comes back in the side.
Yeah,
and Saka had a good game against Chelsea last year, so I expect him to play. Well, look, guys, it's been very interesting to hear your thoughts and your opinions. And thanks for everybody putting the super chats in and listen, we really appreciate your all that you do on Lee Judges TV with myself, Lee, and Dapper Dan down the bottom there. So everybody, thank you for joining in, and we'll see you next time. And don't forget, keep supporting the Arsenal. Come on, you Gunners.